If you want the type of health and performance that lasts generations, then I made this video for you. In fact, I made this matrix for you. What I'm going to teach you today is called the BSFT Matrix, and what it's going to do is help you measure where you're at in your body, your mind, your food, and your time. And what I've come to learn after working with over 10,000 people in the last 20 years of the health and fitness industry is a couple of key principles that I'm going to share with you today that are going to be easy enough for you to install today so that you can ensure that you're not just getting the most out of your day-to-day, but getting the most out of your life long term and leaving the type of legacy that you know you're capable of. And when I talk about legacy, I'm not necessarily referring to the financial legacy, although intergenerational wealth is a completely its own conversation and important as well. What I'm talking about is like a health legacy. And so we're going to get stuck into it because what I've learned after working with over 10,000 people is that when it comes to training, only 3 things actually matter. And they're boring, they're not sexy, it's hard to market, but these 3 things are the only things that matter. That is autonomy, freedom, and independence. Autonomy is your ability to choose what's important for you. Your freedom is your ability to actually have capacity to do what's important for you. And then independence is your capability to actually do those things. If you take away any one of those things, your ability, your capacity, reduces significantly. And everything else that you enjoy doing is off the back of those things. Here's where people get tripped up. They don't realize those 3 things are the most important, especially in people's 20s. It starts to come online late 20s for some, but otherwise 30s, and definitely in 40s. Now, like wealth, you want to invest as early as possible. And so when we start to look at training, and not just physical training, but mental training, looking at food, looking at nutrition, looking at the way that we optimize our time, when we start looking at that with a long-term lens, and when we take this idea of a health legacy, we are actually able to zoom out a little bit and realize that we are currently living the legacy that our parents passed on to us, unless we consciously made decisions to do something different. So the question isn't, and I spoke about this in my TED Talk, the question isn't what are the values, beliefs, behaviors, systems, and culture that you might be passing down. The question is, what are the values, beliefs, behaviors, and systems and family culture that you are passing down? Because you are, right? Whether it's with your own family or if you don't have kids, maybe it's with the people at work, maybe it's with people that you mentor, maybe it's with nieces and nephews. Regardless, it is unavoidable. And one of the key ways that we shift to be able to have this top of mind is actually looking at our training, and I'm talking more about gym training here, but training across the board, but less grounded in the context of a gym. We want to start to shift from what's known as a gym-centric approach to what's called a life-centric approach. So often when it comes to gyms, and this is coming from someone that's owned one for 14 years, it can be very, very centralized around the gym. You have to hit PBs in the gym on exercises that you never do outside of the gym. You have to lose kilograms so we can measure it and then market it. You have to make sure that you're rocking up every single day to show us that you're committed and motivated and so forth. Those things are fine and not necessarily inherently bad or wrong, but when they actually take away from your life, and I've seen it, I've done it when I was younger, but I've seen it in hundreds of people, thousands of people probably, let's be honest. It's about shifting from a gym-centric approach where the gym dominates your life to a life-centric approach where the gym helps you dominate life. And it's a really, really key distinction. You want to look at the gym and going, how can I utilize my time here, whether it's 2 hours a week or 6 hours a week, to do the things that I want to do outside of the gym better, more often, and with more enjoyment. Your 1 hour in the gym has to positively impact your 23 hours outside of it. Otherwise, it's not an investment. It's a cost. It's not an asset. It's a liability. And so often over the years, and not just in my gym, across the industry, and I've been to over 100 different gyms around the world, I see people walking around with professional injuries because they were chasing amateur sports because they thought that's what they should be doing. Don't let gyms use you. Don't let the fitness industry use you. You need to use a gym and you need to use the fitness industry so that you can do more shit in life that you enjoy doing. Now, that's not to say that I've got clients here that train 6 days a week and this is their version of their community and this is their sport. I play cricket in the summer and I go to cricket training and this is just their version of cricket and I support that. What I'm getting at here is that a life-centric versus gym-centric approach is crucial. You need to go, how can I use a gym to do what I want to do more often, with enjoyment whenever I want to. I actually used to call it an anywhere, anytime athlete, but there you go. That's a bit of a throwback. I mentioned before about my TED Talk. I did a TED Talk in 2024 around intergenerational health, and what it spoke to was habits for intergenerational health. Now, that's off the back of my work, and I'm going to share what I call the BSFT Matrix with you today, and that is probably my core body of work that I've come to realize. And there's a couple of key things around this core body of work, and that is that I've learned that people develop through stages, not ages. And what that really means is that it's not about getting, for example, technique right or wrong, or nutrition right or wrong, or your mindset right or wrong, or anything black and white like that. What it does mean is that we move through predictable stages in the areas of move, mind, mouth, and method. Or another way to do it is body, self, food, and time, which funnily enough spells BSFT. So I'm going to outline those stages for you today. I'm going to tell you how you can actually assess where you're at with these stages. But the whole point of this matrix is not necessarily to get to the highest stage. The whole point of this matrix is for you to be able to use a map to go, okay, what do I want to do in my life? Like as in what games I want to play, what goals do I have? And where am I right now? And given my games and goals that I want to play, where do I need to be on this map? And what's the work that I need to do to be able to do that, once again, more often, with more enjoyment, whenever I want? And so that's how I would encourage you to use the BSFT Matrix. It's relatively simple. It's very nuanced. I attempted to simplify this as much as I can. But this is really 20 years experience going into a simple model. Shall we? Well, first, before we do, let's define something here. Health. What is health? Because I'm talking about health, I'm talking about fitness, talking about performance even. But what even is health? So there's a couple of key things here that I would encourage you to take away with the conversation around what is health. One, you define it. You need to define what health is for you, because it's going to change. What health is for you in your 20s is going to be different in your 30s and different in your 40s and so forth. It's got to be contextually appropriate for your life and your life stage. And so you can integrate government recommendations or research and science. You can integrate all of those sort of things. But for one person, being sober is healthy, and for another person, enjoying a wine with their friends and having a good laugh is healthy. You first need to define health for you and how health actually fits in with your life and your life stage. And what's super important with when it comes to health is that it's actually flexible. Not that you just go, today I'm just going to do this. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you have the capacity and open-mindedness to be able to go, that definition doesn't really work for me anymore. I'm at a different stage. I've got young kids now, or work's got high demands. I just need to be able to really assess, like, what is health for me at this stage? Is it being able to slow down rather than having to burn out and work out, slow down and actually speak to the people around me and have close relationships? And that really feeds my soul. So you need to define what health is. I'm going to define health as mental, social, and physical health and well-being from a contextually sustainable approach. A little bit boring, I get it, but it's true. It is an integrative approach. It is mental, social, and physical health and well-being from a contextually sustainable approach. And when looking at health from that aspect, it means that I can adjust it based on where I'm at my stage of life. Because I'm 36 at the moment. I would say today, but I've been 36 for most of this year. I've got a little girl that's about to turn 1. I'm running 2 businesses at this stage. My wife is getting back into the workplace and still working within it. Like, I'm at a different stage than I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago. So I need to be able to make sure that my definition is relevant for me. I encourage you to do the exact same thing. All right, shall we? So, the BSFT Matrix. Now, this first started out, I remember I had a business partner at the time, and it was about 11 years ago, and we're getting some new coaches on board. And he goes, how do you teach people or teach other coaches to do what you do? And I thought for a moment, he was in marketing, right? I thought for a moment and I was like, well, first you make it safe, then you make it strong, and then you make it sexy. And that was the kind of process of how I used to teach movement. I'm like, if I'm watching someone move, because each person needs different information, because they have different, biomechanics, they have different learning preferences, they've got different levels of spatial awareness, kinesthetic awareness, they've had different days, did they just wake up, or, were there layoffs and they didn't get laid off, or they're waiting to hear about it tomorrow, or they're waiting on what's going on for this? There's so many factors that feed into it that we can't just expect every single person needs the exact same amount of information. And even the same person needs different information. So here's a key ticker for you. The right information to the right person at the wrong time is the wrong information. And so this was a key framework. And I said that to him and he goes, I love it. That's great. And I was like, cool. There's a positive little reinforcement for me. But the benefit for me was that stayed a consistent structure for how I coach coaches. This is actually how I coach movement. I teach this to clients as well. This was the start of the BSFT Matrix. I didn't know it at the time. But what I ended up doing was going, well, there's move and there's mind and there's mouth. I didn't know what alliterations were. Apparently I like them. And I'm actually going to put another little S here because I'm going to show you why in a little while. What happened more recently is that I realized I was missing something. And what that means is I realized I was actually missing the method, systems and structures, environment, and so forth. I had the body, I had relationships because mind is self and other, and then I had mouth, so nutrition, but I didn't actually have the systems and methods or the approaches that people use. So now we're starting to look at physical, social, and mental health and well-being, and then we look at this as a sustainable approach. And so this also then feeds into body, self, food, time, right? Beautiful. Now, what I came to learn was that was a terrible line. What I came to learn was that there are stages to this. I now call these stages, these 3 core stages, base, flow, and peak. Right? And if you look at the BSFT logo, there literally is a base, there's a flow, and there's a peak. And what I came to learn was that I actually had another mentor and she goes, this is all well and good, but how do people know when they get there? Because what I had shown her was move rather. When it came to mind, I was like, well, there's student, scholar, and sage. They're the stages that we move through. When it comes to nutrition, we have simple, sustainable, specific. And then later on, I learned that when it came to method, we then have step, we then have shift, and then we have set. Now, over here is pre. I'll get to pre-stage in a sec. Now, this was really interesting and important because what this allowed me to do was to be able to actually communicate to people at the stage. So I learned to assess the stage that they're at and communicate on that level. If they were at a particular stage when it came to their understanding themselves, for example, this pre-stage, this is all black and white. That gives you the idea of the pre-stage. People that are black and white, right, everything's a slog when it comes to their movement. Figuring on this, and I'll get back to that. Everything's a slog. They're either slogging themselves or it's a slog to get started. Either way, they're slogging themselves or it's a slog to get started. When it comes to mind, they're stuck in their ways. It's just how it is. That's who I am. It's not going to change. Leopards don't change their spots. All of those sort of things. Take it or leave it. It's all black and white. When it comes to mouth and nutrition, they're going to swing, and they probably could swing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they go swing from binge to restrict. And they'll swing black and white all over again. And then when we look at method, they're going to, from whatever reason, my brain says scatter, but it's actually start and stop. It could be either one, but start, stop. And what's interesting here is that people take this approach here, their method towards these 3 areas, right? Let's just put that little line down there. Base, flow, peak, and pre. And so there's another, I love this model. It is, I know, a little bit nuanced, but it's so beautiful, right? So this is all black and white, which you now know. But what's also really interesting is that the relationship has a role to play here. And when it comes to relationship, this place here, this is codependent. When they're in this early stage here, they're codependent, which is okay. That's where we start for so many things. Codependency has a victim, aggressor, and a rescuer. And what happens is that so many trainers keep people in the codependent relationship. They're going to need them. Your goal, if you're a coach or a leader or anything, is to help people move through codependency, through interdependency. And we do that by going dependent, independent, and then interdependent. And so this model here, you could have somebody, for example, that goes, man, I need to lose weight. And they're at this swing stage when it comes to their nutrition. I need to lose weight. And they go, I'm going to go get someone to tell me exactly what to do, to go get specific nutrition input. And what happens is that they're codependent to begin with. That's fine. But this person and this person keep each other codependent. And so they finish the 12 weeks or the 8 weeks or whatever. Maybe it's a dietitian or a nutritionist or an influencer. It doesn't matter too much. Maybe it's ChatGPT. Usually a person, though. But either way, they stay codependent. And when that 12-week finishes, they come back to their default stage. So they had a state experience, but it was codependent. And so this is what happens when it comes to movement. This is what happens when it comes to your mind. This is what comes with mouth and even with method to a degree as well. Someone keeps you accountable and then that falls away, the conditions change and you fall back to this start-stop stage. So these are all ways that we move through this. And the way that we move through these stages is through education and love. And I've got another podcast and both a blog on that coming up in the next couple of days. But the ways that we move through these stages through education and love. But what's really crucial here is that we need to go, what are the goals and what are the games I want to play with my life? Then given that, where do I need to be on this matrix and where am I right now? And I developed a quiz for you. I think it takes around about 3 minutes you can do. And you can actually measure, it's a very simple quiz, I think there's only 20 questions at this stage. It gets you an idea of where you are on this map and what's likely holding you back. There's always going to be at least one pillar between body, self, food and time that's going to be usually quite low. And that's usually going to be where your potential lies. Your potential always lies in your blind spots. But this is the BossFit Matrix. This is my pinnacle part of my body of my work. And the goal that I have for society is to get everyone to a base stage where that's just like they've got safe movement, they've got a safe, good, strong kinesthetic awareness. They're a student when it comes to themselves and relationships and other people. They've got a simple understanding of nutrition. They're taking things step by step and they're building dependency. That's for like society. Whereas I also work with professional athletes. I work with special forces recruits, executives, like high functioning individuals. They're still going to have big gaps through here. What happens is that they end up having more like this, high level here, a little bit lower here, high level there, and so forth. So the powerful thing with this matrix is now you have a map that you're actually able to use to go, okay, what do I actually want to do with my life? As in, how do I want to show up in my life and my relationships? How do I want to understand myself better? And then I've got pathways for you through all of this. This is literally what every single bit of content and every single program and every single immersion or podcast is all based around this core body of work. And it's to help individuals move through and develop this for themselves. I mean, ultimately, ideally, we have people in this space here. This sounds like it's, why shouldn't we be aiming for peak? But it's like most people don't need to. Peak's fine, it's good, but I've got a mate I do a lot of work with, and his name's Jamie. He's heading over, I think it's to Mont Blanc for the ultimate fighter. It's not the ultimate fighter. He'll probably be fighting some demons, but the ultra marathon. And he's over there. Like his vision is it's locked in. I've seen the guy train 100%. I known him long enough. He's absolutely, in this framework. When I met him, he wasn't. When I met him, he was 100% stuck in his way. He's a bit curious, so super interesting. And I've seen him with his nutrition. The thing is, though, is that at some point that's going to finish. But I know Jamie exceptionally well. He's going to come back and he's going to return to his default, and he's going to have some flexibility with the way that he shows up, both in relationships and with his training and so forth. And it's because his default's so high. Problem is, people set marathons as goals, but they have a low default to fall back onto. So don't be that. Move stages through ages. That's why this is so important, because it's a simple model, and I know it doesn't look it if you look at it now, but I promise you it is a simple model that you can use. My goal is to help you all understand it and utilize it and build from there. But look, team, that's me done. If you're interested in this, there'll be a diagram in the notes below, as well as a link to the BossFit Matrix test if you want to take it. But that's me done for today. Any questions, chuck them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. But I'm out. Until next time, big love, peace and pizza. I'll see you soon.